Hi, this is Francis Ron, and today's another episode of Bayani Talk. Hi, everybody, this is Francis Ron, and today's another episode of Bayani Talk. And today I'd like to talk about, lack of a better term, posers. Okay, so because of Bayani Talk, I get a couple messages here and there letting me know about their FMA experience or their martial arts experience or their weapons experience or even their watch experience, right? Speaking of which, before we continue, wrist check. I'm wearing my Blacklist Streetmatic watch with a carbon fiber face and a blue kind of like a teal bezel to it. I love it. It's a great watch. Go check them out. Blacklist. Their watches are amazing. And I am a member of WatchGang. If you are looking to become a member of WatchGang, there's a referral code down below. Every time if you sign up through using that referral code, your boy gets some points. So please go ahead and do that. Now let's get back to posers. So now I was this guy has been kind of clicking likes and commenting on a bunch of my previous posts, and I've always been like, okay, whatever. Thanks a lot, brother. Thanks a lot, man, for posting. But then he sent me a private message. And now, at the time, I was actually at the beach, with all this pandemic stuff happening, any opportunity I can to be able to go outside and just kind of just enjoy nature, I take advantage of it. And then when I was doing this, I was actually celebrating my school's anniversary, which was supposedly in May, but because of the pandemic, we had to push it to July. Beside the point, I was there to relax and chillax, okay? But then this guy sends me a message, and I wasn't very chatty at the beginning because I wasn't in the mood. I just wanted to relax, but he was asking me a lot of questions. So now, the thing about it is, I don't mind really talking to a bunch of FMAers because I think that's just really cool people, and they just really get to know them a lot. So I'm always down for that. But then we had a problem because he wanted to talk about Filipino martial arts specifically, and then I started asking him specific questions to determine whether or not if this guy is an actual practitioner or not. So let me break it down to what happened and what makes me raises some red flag. So the first question is, if somebody wants to talk to me about FMA, that's perfectly fine. If you don't know anything about FMA, that's perfectly fine. We can definitely start. That tells me that this is the conversation that I need to have, to be able to give him or her a background, whatever. But if somebody tells me that they are a practitioner themselves, then of course the whole level of conversation completely changes. So the first question I always ask, if somebody is a practitioner, a supposed practitioner, is of course, what's your style? Now, because if you're like Balintawak or Doce Pares or Pakiti Tertia or Esquema de Campo, Marqueda Kali, you can tell if you've been in the game or in the business long enough, you can tell that each style has its own distinct flavor. Not all of them, in my opinion, are great, but of course, everybody's got a distinct flavor to what they're doing. So so that's one of the reasons why I asked that. They might not necessarily be a practitioner of that style, or that's their main style, but you can see a lot of the influences behind that. Secondly, the first red flag that raised for me is that this person wasn't willing to tell me what style they were from. In fact, every time I asked their style, he kept changing the subject to something still FMA related, but still changing the subject nonetheless. So I got finally to the point, I'm like, so are you just not going to tell me your style? And then this person's response was, I don't ride in anybody else's coattails. I don't promote anybody else but my own style. To me, that's a red flag because of the fact that, one, I think that if you practice a specific style, you're proud of it. Okay, you're definitely proud of it. You might not like the politics behind it. You might have left the group in bad terms, but you still learned that style, and you still can't deny it. If I see you move, I'm not saying I can immediately tell, but you can see the fingerprints or the influences of your instructor, whatever that style may be. But to me, when somebody doesn't want to tell me what style they're from, right, and their reasoning is because they don't want to ride on anybody else's coattails, that means, to me, that is very suspicious, because now it seems to me like they don't want me to verify that's the style that they practice. let's face it, folks. In the days of the internet age right now, you tell me what style you're from, I can easily reach out to the person who teaches that style and see if this person is associated with you or not. I don't know. I mean, so and I think so. That's why it raises a red flag for me, because that means that this person doesn't want me to verify or confirm his or her that this person really taught from that. So with that being said, if that person didn't really practice any specific style or trained under a specific instructor, then there's a very good chance that this person learned from YouTube. This person is an alumni of YouTube University. And for me, that's just like, I'm nothing against online training, but there's something that can replace actual in-person training. So that was definitely the first major red flag when I'm having a conversation with this person. Then the second thing that I don't want to know if it's actually a red flag, but it's something that pissed me off. Now, the person I was speaking with, checking this person's profile, he's Caucasian. He's a white guy, right? Now, again, in my previous video, I don't care if you're white, yellow, pink, purple, or with blue polka dots, as long as you are respectful of the Filipino martial arts culture as well as the Filipino culture, we're good. Practice it. I'll call you brother. I'll even call you kapatid, even though you might not understand me. You're my brother or my sister because you're respectful of the style. I'm not gonna say what he said, but when he refused to tell me the name of his style, he told me the name of his system. And the thing about it was he named it after a Tagalog term, right? So then now that kind of tells me maybe he's he practiced more of the northern, like the Manila Tagalog style, like maybe modern Arnis, depending. I mean, that's not really a really strong indicator, but that tells me something. But then one of the words that he used, and again, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to put this person in super blast. He was saying that it meant this, and it really didn't. The meaning, and again, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to put this person on blast. Forgive me, guys. But basically, what I found to be the height of hubris in this person was that a white person was trying to tell a Filipino who speaks the language what the Filipino Tagalog word meant. And I'm like, bro, I'm Filipino and I speak Tagalog fluently, and I'm hired as a professional interpreter from Tagalog to English. You don't need to explain to me what the word means, and your definition or your translation of the word is completely wrong. And he's like, no, I'm pretty positive. I've done all my research. I said, you've done your research. This is my first primary language. So that was definitely a big second thing. It's like this person is refusing to even be corrected, right? And I mean, look, if I'm not saying I'm always right. Don't ask my students this, because my students, rule number one, Guru is always right. But I'm not always correct. I'm not always right. I don't know everything of everything, right? So if somebody was to able to educate me on something I'm not really that familiar with, or that this person is in authority of it, you would listen to that person. But this person was definitely just adamant about it. Then third thing that he said to me, he asked me, what would you do what do you carry? What's your EDC, right? And so I'm like, okay. So I told him that I normally carry a cold steel Raja 2 a knife. I normally carry a Tough Rider pen, and maybe depending on, I don't always carry this, but I do. I put it somewhere near me, a tactical flashlight, and depending of the season, I would be wearing a scarf or something to that level, my EDC, right? And then he asked me, why don't you walk around with a cane? I'm like, what do you think I am, a pimp? I am. But I'm not a pimp, so I'm like, I don't carry a cane because that's not something that's very practical for me to carry. And then he started going on about how can you be an FMA practitioner that practices with sticks and don't walk around with a cane? And I said, because as a Filipino martial arts practitioner, it's not about the specific tool that's in our hand. It's whatever you put in our hands becomes a weapon. Okay? So the mere fact that I'm carrying what I say I carry, my Raja 2 cold steel knife, my Tough Rider pen, as well as my tactical flashlight in certain instances, as well as a scarf, depending on the season, those are the things that I use as a weapon, as a tool to protect myself if need be. And then this is where, so that was the third strike, that you have to walk around with a cane. You don't. I don't see many Filipino martial artists, unless they need it because they need it for stability, walk around with a cane. Now, I know one particular practitioner that had a cane and actually used it to defend himself. Much kudos to you, brother. You know I love you. But for the most part, we don't walk around with a cane on a daily, right? But having a knife is something that I carry on a daily. Then his response was, but you only use a knife to kill people. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, look, let me just pull out that same knife. This is my Raja 2 knife, right? Cold Steel Raja 2 knife. It has the kukri kind of design to it. And I'm not being sponsored by Cold Steel. I bought this myself. They did not pay for this. I paid for this myself. This is my knife, okay? But the thing about it is, if you're a Filipino martial arts practitioner, you know that the knife is not necessarily there to kill people. Okay? Now, I've talked to many practitioners, but one particular practitioner has told one of the things that he's known for is that he talks about the anatomy of the tool that's in your hand. If it's got a point, it's for puncturing. If it has an edge, it's for lacerating. And if it has a flat surface, it's for blunt force trauma. There's a few other things, but let me just I don't want to digress too much. But basically, I can use the knife as a kumbatan style, right? I can just kind of use this like this, right? And even if I was to deploy the blade, and again, that's only an extreme situation, okay? Only an extreme situation. I still don't have to cut on the most vital organs, right? I can definitely just maybe cut his arm, cut something else without actually having to inflict much deadly damage, okay? But this person was adamant, well, like, then you're just going to spend time you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison. Oh, I'm like, okay. So basically, it came down to this. He wanted to know specifically what my style was. Every question I threw at him, he was throwing it back at me. So I told him that I practice Visayan Legacy Eskrima that's been heavily influenced by the 12 Paras multi-style system. I have trained lightly in other styles, but for the most part, I am a Visayan Legacy Escrimador. Okay, so and then he goes, well, that's not specific. What do you specialize in? And what I told him was, I'm not saying I'm an expert in everything, but what I am trying to tell you is that if you're gonna, Filipino martial artists, we use different tools to protect ourselves. And then he said, no, you have to be specific in one thing. I'm like, no, I don't have to be specific in one thing. I can be very good, very proficient in many things. But he just kept throwing it back at me about saying that I need to be this, I need to be that, I need to be this. And in reality, folks, I don't need to be anything that what he defines to be a Filipino martial artist. One, he's too afraid to tell me what style he comes from. Number two, he believes he knows better about the Filipino culture more than the Filipino, right? And number three, he keeps telling me that these are it's FMA. You can only do it when it comes for deadly force. And in reality, folks, and any Filipino martial arts practitioner, support me on this one. We can do deadly force if deadly force is necessary. Now, there's something, of course, that we call that's called imminent danger. If your life's in danger, you have the right to defend yourself. As long as imminent danger exists, you have the right to defend yourself, and you're not necessarily going to prison. Now, I'm not a lawyer. Make sure you consult, you're a lawyer or know your state laws. But for the most part, you are allowed to defend yourself if somebody was really ready to kill you or your loved ones. But bottom line here, folks, is that if you want to talk to me, I'm open. I'm ready to talk to you. If you're a non-practitioner, a new practitioner, or a seasoned practitioner, I'm open to talk to you about this, okay? But you cannot come into me with those ambiguous answers, trying to pretend to know more about the Filipino culture, and you're non-Filipino yourself, and try to tell me that this is only for one thing. FMA is such a beautiful martial arts that it has a strong plethora, a strong spectrum of things that you can do with it, right? And if you don't understand that, then you're not, in my opinion, you're not really a seasoned practitioner. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you believe that this person was a practitioner or not? Comment down below. Hey, but if you are looking for a school within, and you live within the Riverside Inland Empire area, then hit us up. Hit up my sister school, my sister company at www.fmaschool.com. Also, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe on my channel, and stay tuned for the next Bayani Talk. Until then, my name is Francis Serrano. Peace out, God bless, and keep swinging them sticks.